On February 21st, 2021, a 16-year-old writer was interviewed about her new and upcoming book, titled Red and Ella. The story follows a teenage writer named Ella who meets and falls in love with a famous actor/musician named Red. In the interview, the 10th grader goes on to describe how all of her work is heavily inspired by real events and relationships in her own life, with Red and Ella being no exception. Even the characters' names were a play on her own name and someone named Jared. In fact, she reveals that she had specifically written this book for Jared and would be giving it to him for his birthday later this year, in June. Fast forward 3 years, and this same girl would be seen walking arm in arm with 37-year-old famous actor/musician Jared Drake Bell. Coincidence? There are many who don't think so, especially with Drake's alleged history of problematic relations with young girls, most of which were not discussed in the recent docuseries, Quiet on Set, which focused on Drake's story as a victim. But is that all Drake is? A victim? Or is he also perpetuating the cycle of abuse? Join us as we separate rumors from facts and investigate what Drake Bell has done. For Drake, his acting career started out as a joint father-son venture, driving to auditions after school, sitting in waiting rooms, practicing lines. It was all a way for the recently divorced Joe Bell to spend one-on-one time with his son. However, as Drake went from booking commercials,
"You can't catch all 150 Pokemon by yourself,"
So close.
to landing TV shows,
Thank you for my swing set, Mr. Toolman.
Mr. Cassidy, I broke up with that girl in accounting for you.
Great. How'd she take it?
Not well. You sent her some flowers.
Nice touch, kid.
Thanks a lot.
Beat it, punk.
and major motion pictures, it became clear that this was more than a simple bonding exercise. It was a calling, and the only thing Drake needed to bring his career to the next level, after a successful run of guest spots, was that sought-after series regular role. So naturally, when an audition came up for a recurring role on The Amanda Show, the then 12-year-old gave it his all.
Everybody loves me, nobody hates me. It's not hard. The boss sees you like this, he's gonna wrap you, go right ahead and start getting your mouth into you. You make this good boy. Great shot, Captain Pomegranate. Now it's my turn. Now it's he's gonna mess with you. Professor, some boss from Vigilante.
As will come as no surprise to any child of the 90s or early 2000s, Drake booked the gig, and just like that, he was pulled into Nickelodeon's orbit, a network that would put Drake in proximity to fame, access, and a man by the name of Brian Peck. That brings us to Quiet on Set, the recent docuseries that exposed exactly what happened to Drake Bell behind the scenes at Nickelodeon all those years ago. See, while Drake was just getting his start when he began at the network, Brian Peck, of no relation to fellow Nickelodeon child actor Josh Peck, already had an established career as a producer, on-set dialogue coach, and actor. In fact, if you tuned into Nickelodeon in the early 2000s, you're probably familiar with his work as Pickle Boy on All That, a recurring role where Brian carried around a platter of, you guessed it, pickles. All of this is to say, Brian was an important person at the network, and that meant the fact he had a pen-pal relationship with John Wayne Gacy, who sent Brian letters, photos, and a signed clown poster. Well, no adult seemed to recognize the disturbing indicator that this was someone who shouldn't have been around children. And so, Brian freely mingled and even built friendships with the child stars at Nickelodeon, which, after he started working as a dialogue coach on The Amanda Show, included Drake Bell. Joe Bell, however, always kept his son within eye's distance, and that meant when Brian became overly familiar with Drake on set, the father took notice. Yet, when Drake's father brought his concerns to production, it was implied that since Brian had a preference for males, the father was being homophobic in his assessment of the adult's interactions with his son. And as Brian's bond with Drake grew stronger, with the dialogue coach driving out of his way to attend the teen's concerts, and even hosting Drake's 15th birthday party at his house, it was easy for Brian to convince Drake and his mother that Joe had become a detriment to Drake's career by planting seeds that the father was disliked on set and was stealing his own son's money, all seeming to point to the process of grooming, isolating, and building trust with his target to eventually carry out the mistreatment. Yes, soon enough, Joe Bell was no longer a part of Drake's acting journey, and instead, Brian took on the responsibility of driving Drake to auditions, and after a long day of the teen performing for casting directors, letting him crash on his couch. It was a setup that was fine until it wasn't. A shift that occurred one morning when a 15-year-old Drake awoke to Brian essaying him. Despite Brian's claim that it wouldn't happen again, the abuse continued. And out of fear that exposing someone as well-connected as Brian could end his career, Drake stayed silent. Quiet on Set revealed the first person to point out that Brian's fixation with Drake wasn't normal was Drake's first girlfriend's mother, after Brian repeatedly called her home when Drake blew off plans with him to spend time with her daughter. Yet, while the girlfriend's mother called Drake's mother and took the child star to therapy, it wasn't until Drake began filming Drake and Josh in 2003 that the Nickelodeon star told his mother exactly what Brian had been doing to him. After learning about the essay, Drake's mother called the police, who had Drake get Brian to admit to his crimes on a taped call, leading to Brian's arrest. In October 2004, Drake went to Brian's sentencing, where he saw his industry colleagues gathered across the aisle.
His entire side of the courtroom was full.
While Drake didn't name who was in attendance that day, Quiet on Set's petition to unseal letters of support revealed the names of those who'd written in, which included the Amanda Show director, Rich Carell, and stage manager, Beth Carell, X-Men's James Marsden, The Amanda Show and SNL's Taran Killam, Growing Pains' Joanna Kearns, Boy Meets World's Ryder Strong, and Will Friedle, and others who vouched for Brian's character by shifting blame to his victim, Drake Bell. As this portion of the docuseries drew to a close, Quiet on Set hit viewers with one more devastating blow, revealing that after pleading no contest and being sentenced to 16 months for 2 charges of child SA, the then registered offender, Brian Peck, went on to work with children again, this time on the set of The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, alongside the Carells, who'd written him letters of support. But that's all what was discussed during Quiet on Set. What many people want to know is, what happened after? Well, unlike Drake's appearance in the courtroom back in 2004, the former child star received tremendous support online following the release of the docuseries. Fans were even disturbed they missed the signs, especially since they believed Drake's rumored first girlfriend,
none other than Canadian singer-songwriter Fifi Dobson,
had painted such a vivid picture in the song she released in 2006, Man Meets Boy, that included the verse, "Man meets boy, shattered summer, broken dreams. Too young to know, what he wants is so extreme. He held you down, told you not to scream or cry." And the chorus, "He can't hurt you anymore. I am your friend. My love will be your cure." In fact, Drake himself had hinted at his trauma back in 2005 with his song In the End, which includes the lyrics, "Wake up, the monsters in your head have left you. All to yourself, it's all right, if ugly little things remind you of how it felt." As well as a chorus where he alluded to the lasting effects the abuse had on his psyche by asking himself, "And in the end, are you stronger? And do you no longer need to recover?" But had he truly healed? Some believed he hadn't, and as a result, may have found some harmful ways to cope. See, while Drake undoubtedly received immense support following Quiet on Set, a vocal minority had emerged online, begging the public to take a second look at allegations the docuseries breezed over. As Quiet on Set briefly touched on, following Drake's traumatic experience, the former child actor engaged in self-destructive behavior that led to alcohol and substance abuse, a DUI, as well as his own allegations. In 2021, Drake was accused by a 19-year-old fan from Canada. The two supposedly met in person, and she alleges she was groomed from the ages 12 to 15, with messages exchanged over Instagram and Snapchat that began with boy advice before allegedly descending to exchanges of explicit texts and photos. When the Jane Doe messaged Drake in 2017 to tell him she was going to see him in concert in the coming months, he in turn asked her how old she was for the first time. She told him she was 15, to which Drake allegedly responded, "Hurry up." However, according to the accuser's allegations, Drake couldn't wait. Instead, he allegedly essayed her in October 2017 in the backseat of her aunt's car in Illinois, while her aunt drove him to a friend's house, and allegedly twice more in December 2017 in Cleveland, Ohio, once backstage at his show and again in his hotel room.
I dread going to sleep because I don't want to see him in my nightmares.
The Jane Doe said during her victim impact statement at Drake's sentencing in Ohio.
He was such a huge part of my childhood, and in return, he ruined my life.
She ended her statement by further condemning her former hero.
I idolized and looked up to him, and he took that and broke it in the most sickening way possible. He is the epitome of evil.
Since the investigation did find that Drake had sent the teen inappropriate messages in the months leading up to the concert, Drake pleaded guilty to the charges of child endangerment and a misdemeanor charge of disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. He was sentenced to 2 years probation and received 200 hours of community service. Without ever going into the specifics of the Jane Doe's allegations, Quiet on Set emphasized the fact that Drake did not plead guilty to SA and therefore was not a registered offender, a title the New York Times only recently retracted.
2 years later, the New York Times just printed a retraction to their article that everybody reposted, every TikToker, every YouTuber.
But while Drake said he took responsibility for what he had done in Quiet on Set, some believe his statements following the case suggested otherwise. Back in 2021, Drake posted a video to his Facebook page addressing the rumors that he fled to Mexico to escape charges.
A lot of the news that you've been hearing, well, most of the news that you've heard recently is entirely false and wrong. And I feel that you deserve and I owe you an explanation. I didn't change my name. Although I love and would love to. I've never moved to Mexico. I've never been a resident or a citizen of Mexico. I don't have a Mexican passport. I didn't get arrested. I didn't go to jail.
In fact, according to Drake, the investigation had proven him almost entirely innocent.
I know that this has moved very quickly for you, but for me, it's been a 3-year thorough investigation into every false claim that has been made. And it's not me telling you that the claims are false, but the state of Ohio has proven the claims to be false.
But some people were suspicious. If the victim had been lying, why hadn't Drake gone to trial instead of pleading to a smaller charge? Well, the actor has since claimed he only pleaded guilty because he was financially devastated at the time and wanted to avoid putting his family through a trial. He also denied knowing his accuser's age before he asked, at which point he claimed he cut off contact and claimed that none of the explicit images she said he sent were ever discovered. But Drake could admit he'd made mistakes, such as ever engaging with his accuser in the first place.
I responded to a fan whose age I didn't know. Yet when I became aware of their age, all conversation and communication stopped. And this individual continued to come to shows and pay for meet and greets, and all while I was unaware that this was the same person I was communicating with online. And that's what I pled guilty to. It was reckless and irresponsible text messages.
Drake's then wife, Janet von Schmeling, also spoke out in 2022 on Instagram stories, where she implied that Jane Doe was a stalker.
I have messages from this woman saying that she is obsessed with Drake, that she thought she was going to marry him. It's just all like very, a lot of fan fiction type of things that happen in this world that I had no idea about.
And from what Janet claimed, their detective found, this went deeper than a schoolgirl crush.
There were photos of me that I had never even posted before on this person's devices, and just things that are scary. And so we were like, okay, we're pregnant, let's keep things a secret until we're safe.
Yep, Drake and his wife appeared to be a united front when it came to calling the credibility of Drake's accuser into question.
She was a fan who really loved Drake and created a whole fantasy in her head. She wrote me on Instagram from multiple accounts.
And if anything, it seemed the hearing had brought them closer than ever.
I think that what we've been going through has really shown me that the most important thing in life really is being a dad and being a husband and having this family.
This domestic bliss, however, wouldn't last. In April 2023, Janet filed for divorce, due to irreconcilable differences. This came 1 week after Drake was reported missing and endangered in Florida, after telling his brother he did not want to be alive due to custody concerns of his son and subsequently disappearing. Drake was found alive and even seemed in chipper spirits on social media, tweeting the day after the incident, "You leave your phone in the car and don't answer for the night, and this?" Weeks later, however, Drake was spotted in his car outside of his Los Angeles home, inhaling air from a balloon, seemingly relapsing on nitrous oxide that he was previously spotted huffing in December 2022.
I was making bad decisions and doing things that would, harm myself and harm others. But my mind was spiraling. I think I just reached my breaking point.
This low point was short-lived, as after his first interview for Quiet on Set, Drake checked into rehab, where he learned how to better navigate through his trauma. More recently, the star has even been able to channel his pain into art, with the release of his new song, I Kind of Relate, with a music video that visually depicts his abuse and DUI. But as Drake took steps towards healing, and the accusations from 2021 were shrugged off as nothing more than the ramblings of an obsessed fan, there was still one more obstacle that stood between the star and absolution: the other allegations. In 2020, a year before the Jane Doe case was making headlines, someone else had come forward against Drake Bell, and this accuser couldn't be so easily dismissed as Jane Doe. Melissa Lingafelt, a musician by the stage name Jimmy Ono, publicly dated Drake Bell in the early 2000s, and if her now deleted posts on TikTok were to be believed, the relationship hadn't been all sunshine and roses. Think you can hurt my feelings? I lived with and dated an alcoholic, abusive Drake Bell from 16 to 19, Melissa captioned a video of herself. In the following post, she elaborated on why she was sharing her story 10 to 13 years later.
First, I would like to start out with saying that I don't really care if anyone believes me, as this is my story and my life, and something that I went through. It wasn't until recently that I actually realized that abuse isn't something that all women have to go through.
According to Melissa, she was a 16-year-old homeschooled aspiring musician when she started dating Drake and subsequently moved in with him. In a later interview with the Daily Beast, she specified that Drake was 20 at the beginning of their relationship, and while that might not sound like a promising start for the pair, the ex said her relationship with Drake was fine, or at least, it was for the first year together. However, after that time passed, Melissa claimed Drake became verbally abusive.
And when I say verbal abuse, imagine the worst type of verbal abuse you could ever imagine, and that was what I got.
And it wasn't long after that, the abuse allegedly became physical.
At the pinnacle of it, he dragged me down the stairs of our house in Los Feliz. My face every step on the way down. I have photos of this.
Forebodingly, Melissa added,
I don't even want to get into the underage girls thing. I mean, I will, but I'm scared.
The ex posted screenshots of texts she sent to her friend, where she claimed Drake's wife's best friend had messaged trying to discredit her and to say Drake had changed. I feel bad for his wife, as just a few months ago, he was DMing me trying to flirt, Melissa texted. The friend replied back, vouching that they'd remembered Alyssa detailing the abuse to them and sending them photos at the time. I remember him throwing you in a bathtub and harming you with hot water. I remember him breaking your antiques, and I also remember calling the cops on him and having to stay at Molly's house until it fizzled over, the friend messaged. To corroborate what her friend said, Melissa posted a tear-stained journal entry she wrote about the alleged night. And while some of the writing is hard to read, here's what we can make out of it. Later, and Drake wasn't home, and my glasses were bentish, and my favorite antique, one of a bird bought for the apartment a year ago. It means so much to me. Smashed pieces. Then he came home. I don't even know how it escalated to such an event. To get to the bottom of it, he pretty much kicked me, choked me, slapped me any way he could. Molly called the cops. We spent the night at her place. For a second, but I was not in the at all. My whole body was just aching. I passed out, around 11, completely worn. It felt nice to get away from Drake. I think the only good thing I've from this relationship, really tough skin. Literally and figuratively speaking. I want to meet a sweet guy, but I still love him. Maybe? She also posted a police report she filed in 2009, 9 months after she and Drake had broken up, that alleged Drake had threatened to end the lives of her and another person. And just like that, Melissa had opened the floodgates. Her DMs filled with other allegations about Drake, involving young fans during his early 20s. I can personally confirm he slept with a friend of mine who was 15 years old when he was 20. I remember you, Melissa, talking to a friend on the phone after it happened, and you told her he put hands on your throat and spit in your face. He was dating you, Melissa, at the time. Didn't stop him from sleeping with my 15-year-old friend, who was a virgin. A couple years ago, Drake was performing at a benefit concert for my high school. Back then, I was in the 8th grade. All I remember is that I met Drake and he essayed me. An alleged former girlfriend of 5 years, Payton Lopashian, also reached out to say, I will stand by your side and back you up, as I went through the same horrific verbal, physical, and mental abuse. Who at the time showing signs of trauma, mentioning that she was shaking, feeling sick to her stomach, and despite being 7 years, Drake still scares her. To support her allegation, Payton provided an email she sent Drake in 2012 that read, I miss watching TV together, currywurst, Disneyland, cuddling with the dogs, etc. The side of you is real and wonderful, but I hate the man that slept with another woman while we were engaged, who lied to my face and cursed at me, told me to F off. I hate the man who's verbally abusive and not trustworthy, the man who was rude to my mom. That part of you is real too. I've fallen in love with Jekyll and Hyde, and I'm in a terrible place. I feel like I'm drowning. A woman named Jillian Leos also DM'd Melissa. She claimed she went to high school with Drake and dated from age 16 to 21. Melissa replied back that she remembered her, while Melissa said she couldn't provide any texts or voicemails because Drake allegedly had broken every phone she had back then. She said she did have many friends and witnesses to attest what he put her through, many of whom had sent her Melissa's TikToks. He's a narcissistic sociopath, and I know there are more of us out there, Jillian alleged. But while there might have been exes and anonymous messengers that backed up Melissa's claims, clearly not everyone was convinced. Melissa went to Instagram to defend herself, writing, Everyone that really knows me and has been a friend of mine for the past 15 years knows all too well of the abuse that Drake Bell put me through. I have so many witnesses. I have photos. It was my life. If you don't believe me, it is clear to me what kind of person you are, and I don't need that on my side. Nobody wants attention for abuse. I hope this gives girls the strength to come out about their experiences with him, because I know for a fact he has hundreds of victims. However, in a statement to People, Drake denied his ex's allegations, claiming, as our relationship ended more than a decade ago, we, unfortunately, both called each other terrible names, as often happens when couples are breaking up, but that is it. Clearly, Melissa still felt close enough to me just last year that she was comfortable reaching out to ask me to provide her with financial support during a tough time, which I did. I do not know if today's behavior is some kind of misguided quest for more money or attention, but I cannot and will not allow these offensive and defamatory allegations to go unchallenged, and I'm reviewing my legal options. When Drake was arrested in Cleveland, Ohio in 2021 for charges of attempted child endangerment towards the Jane Doe incident, Melissa felt vindicated. What he's being arrested for right now is a prime example of what I would witness, him having inappropriate conversations online with underage girls, she told the Daily Beast, adding, I saw really questionable, crazy shit on his computer. The stuff he'd be looking at was effing insane. However, following the release of Quiet on Set, Melissa shared on Instagram stories that she'd been receiving harassment from Drake's fans. She wrote, sharing one's personal experience of abuse can be a complex, challenging process, and it could potentially raise awareness about the prevalence of abuse and the need for support and healing. However, it's crucial to remember that speaking out about one's own experience does not automatically absolve someone of the responsibility for their harmful behavior towards others. But while Melissa's mission to expose Drake had come to a close years ago, others have recently picked up the torch. One of these vigilantes includes the Twitter account, @ExposingRich, that's compiled various allegations made against the former Nickelodeon star. This has included digging up an old tweet from Kamen Rider, Dragon Knight actor, Stephen Ford, that read, Drake Bell is a monster. I won't go into specifics. It's not my story to tell, but my friend dated him. He was physically and emotionally abusive at a fear for my life level. They broke up. Her and I started talking. He harassed me, threatened to end me. He's a creep. A DM from an alleged friend of the 2021 Jane Doe accuser, who said Drake was lucky more didn't come out during the case. Allegedly, forensics found evidence on his phone that will never be made public, and that it's far worse than what was ever made public, as well as further allegations from Drake's High School Nation tour that accused him of taking off his shirt and giving it to a giddy teenage girl, with photo evidence of shirtless Drake, who reportedly walked around the high school that way, a photo of him kissing a teenage girl on the cheek, and a user that claimed he literally came to our high school back in 2018 and hung out with a group of us afterwards at one of our friends' houses until like 12. We were all 15 to 17. Other users added to the thread, claiming they personally witnessed incidents. I have seen him hit on underage girls with my own eyes in a public diner in LA. I have a first-hand account of him trying to take 16-year-olds into a club like a year ago, LOL. One Twitter user hadn't run into Drake per se, but they claimed they had met a teenager in 2015 who was traveling with Drake and his band. They wrote, "Watching her walk away with the band was the grossest I've ever felt, but I still watched." Exposing Rich also brought attention to a tweet that shared images of 2 teenage girls from 2012, along with a message directed to Drake that read, "Remember when you used to go to house parties that were filled with mostly underaged and teenage girls and 25-year-old men as a grown man in 2012? I was 17 and my BFF was 18. We introduced ourselves to you, but we prob didn't look young enough for you. I've always felt sad. And sorry for the other teenage girls at those parties who you did take interest in and acquired their phone numbers. Me and my BFF got lucky. You really have a long history of associating with and predating on teenaged and minor girls as an adult man. You were 25 or 26 at these parties." But with shots being fired at Drake on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, it's only natural that the former Nickelodeon star has established his virtual home base elsewhere. Yes, it's on a Discord server with notably no age restriction and has recently paused accepting new members that Drake allegedly uses to directly communicate with his fans, or rather, command them. Here, he recently asked his fans to defend him on fellow Nickelodeon star Alexa Nikolas' Twitter, after her tweet praising Drake for speaking out in quiet on set received backlash from her fans, who didn't believe that the fact that Drake was a victim excused his alleged past behavior. The tweet was also jarring to fans, as Alexa had previously made a video calling Drake out after the 2021 Jane Doe case, something that Drake clearly didn't appreciate, as he had previously attempted to discredit Alexa's own experience at Nickelodeon to his Discord followers, posting, "Every man Alexa had come in contact with has abused her. Ha ha ha, she's a total joke." Seemingly regarding her feeling uncomfortable during his appearance on Zoe 101, he also wrote, "Also, oh man, she kissed me on the cheek. She was playing a fangirl. That's what you do, nothing weird about it. They are now making totally normal things into weird acts. Who's the one with the sick mind? Her." However, now that Alexa appeared to be on his side, there was only her fans to convince. "We're going to have to mobilize quickly. So the real story is out, and I did not do disgusting things and what really happened," Drake allegedly told his Discord followers. Comment under the tweet where she says Drake Bell is also a survivor, nasty things being said. Drake also used Discord to defend himself after alleged court documents were leaked from the 2021 Jane Doe case, where Drake appeared to send his accuser a shirtless photo of himself, a revealing image the star had previously claimed the investigation found no evidence of. Drake took to the platform to inform his fans that the photo had been posted to his story, not directly sent to the girl. But we noticed something off. Do you see it too? They aren't identical. The image he provided to clear his name, however, appeared to have been taken at an angle rather than front on. Like the other image, his left shoulder was also less hunched in the photo from the alleged leaked court document. For skeptics, the simplest way to show you is by layering the photos on top of each other and turning down the opacity to reveal the photos don't match. As for Drake's other alleged victims, well, on Discord, Drake told his fans that false accusations were unfortunately common in the American justice system. People get accused of SA here, go to jail for 10 years, then it's proven false, and the accuser just walks. Women do it here all the time. And in another post, he seemed to make light of the allegations against another actor, writing, "All Armie Hammer did was talk weird in DMs. People don't see him as a predator." Drake also used Discord to unload on his fans when he was feeling low. In February 2023, the star posted that his team said he had to clear his name before doing anything. In April 2023, he wrote, "I need someone to run my socials. It's literally ending me. These people are going to end me. The album started with me writing about my wife and my son and happiness. Now I'm getting divorced, I lost my son, and I'm spiraling out of control." And in August 2023, when he wasn't paid for concerts, Drake told his fans that he was done making music since he couldn't afford rent and he was going to be homeless. Yes, Drake wasn't above showing his vulnerable side, or as his critics call it, emotional manipulation, when he confided in fans that there was not much positive in his life, that an Instagram shadow ban was too much for him, or that his haters wanted to see him take his life, like Aaron Carter. On Discord, Drake would also link specific videos in the chat and even provide feedback. "Hey guys, love the defending comments, but please let's refrain from using the word victim. Say individual or person. I think that looks less like this individual was victimized, which she definitely was not." There were also times that Drake asked his fans to target creators, like Sloan, with spam. However, recently, his Discord followers have been focused on the content of one creator in particular, Glass Closet. Like many quiet on-set viewers, TikToker Glass Closet sympathized with Drake after learning about what Brian Peck had done to him as a teenager. However, this didn't mean the creator was willing to let the star's past allegations slide.
I genuinely think we can hold space for Drake Bell as a victim, while still acknowledging the things that he has absolutely done to children.
And from the audience reaction to the docuseries that cheered Drake on, Glass Closet was suspicious that his participation in the series may have been a carefully laid trap viewers had fallen into.
I truly believe that part of his reasoning for going on this show, to participating in this documentary, is to rehabilitate his image. And it really, really sickens me how effectively that strategy has worked already.
So Glass Closet took on the mission of correcting the misinformation that was now circulating online, beginning to clarify that the Jane Doe case never went to trial.
Drake Bell pled not guilty at first and then quickly changed his tune and struck up a plea deal.
Why did that matter? It meant the only publicly available information was from the victim's impact statement, the statement made by Drake's attorney, and documents mentioning Drake's pleas. In other words, if there was any other alleged evidence, it never got the chance to become public. And like other skeptics, Glass Closet theorized this was exactly Drake's alleged plan when he decided to plead guilty.
He was afraid of what would come up in that trial. He was absolutely terrified of what would come up in a prolonged trial that revolved around him essaying a child.
And remember the statement about Drake's phone being searched and nothing came up? Glass Closet alleged this statement came from Drake's attorney.
Like, none of that actually comes from a legitimate trial, because we didn't have an actual trial.
And if we take a look at the 39-minute sentencing provided by Law and Crime, you can hear Drake's attorney making that statement.
Some of these claims that were made about sending photos of genitals, we went through these claims with the prosecutor's office for a long time, approximately 18 months. No such image was presented.
We went through these claims, being Drake's team with Drake's devices. Without a trial, we never got to see Jane Doe's potential evidence, which some people believe could have been a potentially strategic move.
So when Drake Bell's attorney says that there was a witness at the hotel who says that the victim never went in the hotel room alone, we have no idea what was actually said, what the relationship is of this witness to Drake Bell. That witness was never cross-examined on the stand.
Glass Closet theorized that Drake and his lawyer had developed the cray stalker narrative as a defense. After all, Drake's attorney had admitted his client had known the teen for years. And despite the way Drake's wife described her interactions with the Jane Doe,
I have messages from this woman saying that she is obsessed with Drake, that she thought she was going to marry him.
The victim's impact statement told a very different story.
Drake Bell's wife was fully, trying to be empathetic towards the victim and was saying that she was appalled at the things that Drake Bell was doing.
Drake's attorney excused these messages since in a video the wife sent in as evidence, she claimed she was only trying to defuse a volatile situation. He then emphasized that this was clearly the case as they were dealing with a superfan.
And I genuinely feel sorry for any of you who are gullible enough to believe that, who are gullible enough to not see straight through that stereotypically, insultingly misogynistic narrative.
As for the explicit photos that there was supposedly no evidence of, Glass Closet pointed out that while text might be easy to recover from devices, photos aren't, especially if these alleged images were sent over an app like Snapchat.
Those are much harder to recover. You have to have a subpoena. You have to subpoena Snapchat in order to get those photos. And usually, if it's beyond 30 days, it's much, much more difficult to get those.
And when it came to Drake and his attorney's claim that he made it clear when the girl told him she was 15 that he was not interested, Glass Closet didn't find his response so innocent.
At that point, he said, "Can you hurry up?" which shows a complete intent not to engage with a minor. So, however, those chats, harmful as they were, clearly harmed this person at that time. They were sexual in nature. Those were, yes.
But if the past allegations against Drake were true, was it possible the star had changed? Well, according to Glass Closet, no. See, the TikToker had been doing some digging and had found recent images of Drake with a young woman who, from her appearance, could have been underage. Her alleged age, we'll discuss soon.
Why is this 37-year-old man hanging out in what appears to be a very romantic way with this girl?
And that wasn't the only content where the two appeared together. Plastered across the unnamed girl's social media, there was a video of the two walking arm in arm, selfies, a congratulatory post for his music video, and even a 2021 birthday post dedicated to Drake that included a video call compilation of Drake talking to her, serenading her, and the pair laughing together. And as a Twitter user recently revealed, multiple photos of Drake and this mystery girl together appeared to be shot in the same location, the lobby of a 5-star hotel in Mexico City. To make matters worse, Glass Closet found the girls' homecoming pictures that were posted the following year.
Drake Bell was fully dating a high schooler? Is that what you're telling me? But he was dating a high schooler from Mexico, so he thought he could get away with it, and no one would know. Is that what you're telling me?
According to one user, who claimed to know the girl in the photos personally, Glass Closet had misinterpreted the posts and they were just family friends. The TikToker, however, provided more evidence that the two were closer than that.
Video that she made where she is saying his girlfriend is a fan of my boyfriend in the caption, which I assume is referencing an ex of hers who is now dating a new girl, and the new girl is a fan of Drake Bell. She's also in the Spanish caption there does say that she found an artist who will write songs for her. That being said, the really damning part is that this was uploaded on the same day that she posted the photos of her with Drake on Instagram. That is her most recent post, where everyone is congratulating them for being such a cute couple.
And while Glass Closet couldn't say for sure that the alleged relationship began when the girl was underage, that didn't make it any less unsettling to the creator.
All I will say is that it is very, very clear that he knew this girl while she was in high school, while she was underage, and had a lot of one-on-one contact with her throughout the years, and now they do appear to be in a romantic relationship.
In a re-upload, Glass Closet presented more findings that she believed backed her narrative. See, it turned out that the girl in the photos had written a book in 10th grade, and everything about it from the cover art.
Those are vector images of Drake Bell. You can't convince me otherwise.
To the plot that followed the love story of a 17-year-old and a famous band vocalist and actor sounded off alarm bells for the creator.
I know what some of you are thinking. Some of you are like, wow, that teenager is so obsessed. with this musician, with this man. She's so obsessed with him that she wrote like a self-insert like fan fiction. I need you to stick with me.
Because that wasn't all. According to further research, Glass Closet claimed she learned the girl was allegedly either in 10th or 11th grade when she posted the Drake birthday tribute in 2021.
There were more than one video shown in this little montage where she was on one-to-one FaceTime calls with Drake Bell.
The girl had also posted a love poem in June 2022, where she drew inspiration from Taylor Swift's All Too Well 10-minute version, writing, "You said nobody had to know about us. I became a secret. You were an oath. It's like hide and go seek, but protecting our sins." And ending the poem on the lines, "Thought being older meant making your own choices and not listening to other voices. Because love brings us choices, but my love will try to keep standing." There was also an Instagram story from June 2023 that showed the girl had been in a conversation with Drake for a suspiciously long time.
They were on this call for 4 hours. Also, just like, I don't know, man, the teddy bear man.
Strangely, the girl had untagged herself from the homecoming post and privated her highlight dedicated to Drake and photos of them together, in the process only drawing further attention to what potentially incriminating content these posts exposed.
Also, this that was posted 5 days ago where she's congratulating him and thanking him for being her everything when she was nothing and for being her person, and saying she'll always be there to hold his hand.
Glass Closet also received an incriminating anonymous DM of a Snapchat video the sender claimed to be from September 2023.
It is really disturbing that is someone's baby girl in bed with a grown-ass man. Drake Bell, you should be in jail. You know what you did.
Yes, the video that was captioned, "Blonde Barbies are gorgeous, but guess which Latina dated her childhood TV crush and is now besties with them?" allegedly featured images of the girl and a man who looked a lot like Drake, posing for photos together, including one where they appeared to be lying in a bed. The problem was, the man's face was covered with an emoji in each photo, leading some users to speculate that it wasn't Drake in all of these images, since in one photo, the tattoos didn't seem to match Drake's, and other photos just didn't appear to be him. Although there was clearly one photo of Drake in the video, which traced back to a video where he had his boxer tattoo done. One user also found the source to another image in the compilation, commenting, "I also found the second photo on Google with the original girl. It's genuinely photoshopped and I will be happy to send proof." Glass Closet replied back, "We've chatted and I can confirm the second photo in the montage does appear to be photoshopped. Not sure why, I have many thoughts." But there was someone else in the comments section that demanded Glass Closet's attention, Drake Bell himself. The star commented on the post, "You are covering the faces of people who are not me. This story is total BS." Glass Closet responded, "I didn't cover their faces, buddy. The girl you were with did it, so it would be less incriminating. You can even see in the screenshot, the pause play button overlays the emoji." Drake, however, continued to defend himself, commenting again, "That's not even me in that bed picture." Glass Closet, however, wasn't so sure about that.
Is that not the same exact jawline in both photos? And, so sorry, but the reverse widow's peak situation you got going on here, yeah, kind of gives it away.
Then again, with the other images of the two together, did it matter if this image was authentic?
Also, side note, but even if this wasn't you in this picture, which I wouldn't expect you to admit to, what are you doing on FaceTime with the little girl?
But while Glass Closet had done her best in her uploads not to name the girl in the photos or blame her,
I know from experience that she most likely does not believe that she is a victim. And I hope that she has an amazing support system. And I hope that Drake Bell rots in hell.
She was right about one thing. The girl didn't believe she was a victim. See, someone else has recently entered the chat, and she was about to set the record straight.
Hello. Most of you know my face but don't know my name. My name's Nora. Nice to meet you all.
Yes, the girl from the photos had uploaded a video which was then re-uploaded to both Drake Bell and Alexa Nikolas TikTok profiles. And while the girl claimed she was a close friend of Drake's,
He is such an amazing person that I have nothing but love, support, and so many good things to say about him.
she was adamant that there was nothing romantic about their relationship. After all, the two only knew each other because of her father, which was something she believed online sleuth Glass Closet should have been able to deduce herself.
First of all, lady, if you did your research right, you would probably know that my dad is a producer for Netflix, Disney, Nickelodeon. He's worked in a lot of productions.
According to Nora, the only person in the wrong, both morally and factually, was Glass Closet.
Something that really creeps me out is the fact that she has one of the books that I've never published, which is called Ella and Red, or Red and Ella, something like that. I wrote that when I was about 13 or 14 years old, and I wrote that for my first ex-boyfriend. This is him.
As for these emoji-covered photos, well, Nora could prove at least one of them wasn't the star.
This is definitely not Drake. This is my cousin Diego.
And that TikTok where she said she was dating an artist, well, she had been. It just allegedly wasn't Drake.
Yes, I was 14 in that video, and I was going out kind of dating this guy that was on Disney, and he was actually my age.
Nora clarified her age, telling viewers she was 21. And while her age gap friendship with Drake might have been disturbing to some viewers, to Nora, Glass Closet's behavior was no better.
I don't know what makes it worse, me being friends with a 37-year-old or a lady attacking me and making like 10 videos about me just for fame. So yes, I'm sorry to break that to you, but I am not a victim. I am not Drake Bell's secret girlfriend or whatever.
Nope. According to Nora, Drake was just one of her best friends. At least for now.
But if we ever decide to date and marry and have our children and live happily ever after, I'll make sure to send you the invite to our wedding.
Clearly, it didn't take long for the post to make its way to Glass Closet.
Yes, I have seen the video.
However, Nora's response didn't faze the creator.
It makes a lot of sense for her to be reacting in the way that she is, and I completely understand it, and I hold zero ill will towards her.
Drake, on the other hand,
my issue the entire time has been with Drake Bell and Drake Bell only, because I believe he is a child predator and he is continuing to groom children.
But while Glass Closet might have been the very few voices questioning the situation on TikTok, on YouTube, other creators have been taking note of the shift in public opinion regarding Drake Bell post-Quiet on Set, including YouTuber Ryan Beard.
Since this documentary came out, I've seen a lot of people on the internet kind of suddenly shift from viewing Drake as a terrible person because of allegations that came out against him a couple years ago, to now treating him as if he has done nothing wrong and acting like all of the allegations against him were lies.
But were the allegations false? That's what Ryan wanted to find out. He went over the 2021 case, where Drake denied the allegations of SA and sending provocative photos, but admitted to having inappropriate conversations with the teen. He acknowledged Drake's attorney's arguments that there was no evidence found of photos exchanged between the two, and that witnesses said Drake was never alone with her, meaning the SA couldn't have occurred. However, as Ryan pointed out, there was no prosecution to provide a rebuttal when it came to these arguments because the case never went to trial. And then there was what happened after the sentencing, when Drake allegedly began shifting the narrative.
Now, here's where things get a little bit confusing. In a later interview, Drake claims that the victim had created a Finsta, or fake Instagram account, and that the only reason he engaged with the victim sexually is because he wasn't aware of who she was.
This didn't add up to Ryan, since the sentencing revealed Drake had known the victim for years, and there were no allegations during the case that she faked her online identity. Drake, however, wasn't the only one allegedly adding details to the case. As it goes, a level of misinformation was also circulating online when it came to Drake's Jane Doe.
I've seen multiple people online make the claim that the victim eventually admitted that she had lied about all of these allegations, and this just is simply not true.
And while what we know about the case is limited due to Drake's pleading guilty, from Ryan's perspective, what we know is enough to see who was in the wrong.
There's no excuse for a 30-year-old to be having sexual conversations with a 15-year-old and telling them to hurry up when you learn that they're a child.
There were also Drake's ex Melissa's allegations, which, as we previously mentioned, Drake denied. However, what Ryan found more interesting was what Drake didn't deny.
As far as I've seen though, he did not deny the age gap between them or the years that they dated each other.
Yes, the star had never corrected Melissa's claim that she started seeing him when she was 16 and he was 20, a relationship that would have been illegal in the state of California if intimacy was involved. And as Ryan pointed out, Drake's marriage with his now ex-wife also involved a notable, albeit legal, age gap, when Drake was 27 and she was 19. Then there was Nora's recent TikTok, which in the YouTuber's opinion was full of
all sorts of lies and inaccuracies.
See, Ryan had found an interview with Nora from 2021 that seemed to go against everything she said in her TikTok. For example, the age she said she'd written her book didn't match up.
I wrote that when I was about 13 or 14 years old.
For me, a 16-year-old?
Yes.
I just finished Red and Ella like literally 2 days ago.
And then there was the fact that Nora said her book was based on her real life.
Some stuff really happened and some parts of the story, I mean, they're fictional, but most of the things that I write about, I try to be as real as possible.
Even the names of her characters were borrowed from reality, with the female protagonist Ella coming from Nora's middle name Daniela, and her love interest name Red coming from the second syllable of his real name, Jared. Of course, this lines up with the name of Nora's ex, who she claimed the character was based on. However, as Ryan pointed out, Jared was also Drake Bell's real first name. And given the book's plot, well, the former Nickelodeon star had some other notable similarities with the love interest.
If the book is based on a true story, it makes a lot more sense that the book would be about Jared Drake Bell because he's a rock star who is much older than her, which is what the book is about.
But the likeness between Drake and Red didn't stop there. The man in the cover art had eerily similar tattoos to Drake, and while Nora claimed in her TikTok comment section that her ex also had tattoos, according to Ryan's research.
She's just straight up lying about this. I looked up pictures of Jared from 2021 and he absolutely does not have any tattoos, whereas Drake Bell does have these signature arm tattoos.
Nora also mentioned in the interview that she planned to gift the book to the real Jared on a special occasion.
The story had a lot of meaning for me and hopefully does to him too whenever he reads it. I was planning on giving it to him for his birthday in June, but I finished it earlier.
But again, from Ryan's research, her ex-boyfriend's birthday was in January. Drake's, however, was June 27th. And while Nora claimed in her TikTok's comment section that her anniversary with her ex was in June, in Ryan's opinion, this excuse didn't work.
If you watch the interview, it is extremely clear that she's planning to give the book to her boyfriend for his birthday.
And then there was her age, which the Ryan pointed out didn't seem to add up with what she claimed it was on TikTok.
She's judging a 21-year-old being friends with a 37-year-old.
Considering that she was 16 in the 2021 interview.
So it is not possible for her to now be 21.
Ryan also noted other moments that hinted that Drake and Nora were allegedly romantically linked, including the teens mentioned in the interview of a certain obstacle her dating life had presented.
My age has always been a struggle, from everything to even relationships, friends, friendships, relationships, romantic relationships.
Her claim that the childhood TV crush she dated was a boy from Disney Channel she was seeing at 14 didn't match up with her own narrative.
If she wrote this book when she was 16, and this book is about Jared, and Jared was her first boyfriend, then how could she have dated this other guy from the Disney Channel when she was 14 before she dated Jared?
And perhaps most damningly, Nora's mention of her boyfriend's niche interest.
My boyfriend, he is really into all that 3D visual art stuff.
That suspiciously aligned with Drake Bell's own.
Is that 3D?
Yeah. It's David Avanzino. He does these kind of paper. He's really cool. You can check out his art.
For skeptics, this could always be just another case of a fangirl taking her love for Drake to extremes. But if it was true that Drake had dated Nora during this time, that would mean the star had been 34 years old dating a 16-year-old in 2021. which was, coincidentally,
the same year that he got convicted of endangering minors.
While it's true that Nora's country, Mexico, has had an AOC anywhere from 12 to 18 years, an adult dating a teen is still considered controversial for many reasons. One being a teen's brain doesn't fully develop until 25. YouTuber Matt Bernstein is another creator that recently plunged head first into the Drake Bell rabbit hole, except in this case, he wasn't alone in his mission to expose the former Nickelodeon star. Matt's video on the subject featured a special guest to help provide insight, NBC's Kat Tenbarge, a journalist who has previously written hard-hitting pieces on Jeffree Star, David Dobrik, and more recently, Drake Bell. The two went over Melissa's allegations of what occurred during her relationship with Drake, which Kat pointed out began just a year after Brian was convicted. It was brought up that in Melissa's 2021 interview with Daily Beast, she said she called the cops multiple times during her relationship with Drake. However, when they would show up, she would hide because Drake had allegedly trained her to protect him. And while the fact that Melissa never pressed charges might make some hesitant to believe the ex, according to Kat, this was unfortunately the norm when it came to DV.
Typically, victims of domestic abuse seek to protect their abuser. They don't want to be the reason that their abuser is exposed.
But of course, Drake eventually did face legal action in the 2021 Jane Doe case. And as Kat pointed out, the same way those celebrities in the docuseries had defended Brian with letters of support that put the blame on Drake, internet users were currently doing their best to poke holes in the victim's testimony.
It's so eerie to me because what happened to Drake Bell in the Brian Peck case is now happening in the exact same way to the Jane Doe in the Drake Bell case.
Arguments that read along the lines of,
oh, Drake was mature for his age, and we think that he tempted Brian into doing something that Brian regrets immensely,
were being regurgitated, this time putting the blame on the Jane Doe by claiming she lied about her age.
Nobody ever claimed that. It is a fiction of TikTok.
And as Kat and Matt emphasized, even if the Jane Doe had looked old for her age, this was a girl Drake had known since she was 12.
Bigger picture.
Bigger picture.
What 12-year-old looks like an adult?
Exactly.
But of course, Quiet on Set didn't get into these details. See, despite the fact predators lurk in every industry, Kat pointed out that the docuseries played upon the internet's preconceived notions that Hollywood is uniquely perverse, which meant it was likely the audience's appetite to hear about what happened to celebrities and not, say, a 15-year-old Canadian or multiple unknown ex-girlfriends that allowed the series to breeze past Drake's previous allegations.
The fact is, the framing of the documentary perpetuates the same focus on celebrity above all else. And I think you could argue that's probably why they don't spend that much airtime going into what Drake himself has done.
And according to Kat and Matt, Quiet on Set's failure to address the cycle of abuse and how, in some cases, abusive behavior can be passed down from perpetrator to victim, in turn left Drake's alleged victim vulnerable to the internet's wrath.
The documentary in itself is part of this continuing cycle of abuse.
But at the end of Drake's recent music video for I Kind of Relate suggested, it wasn't just the docuseries that was working to fix his image.
He embedded a YouTube video into it that is a conspiracy video from a really small channel that is attempting to discredit and undermine Drake's 2021 victim, her personal statement that she made during the sentencing hearing.
I thought that was a really, I didn't even know what to make of that.
I think it basically shows, and there are other ways that we've seen this happen online, but Drake Bell is really actively aware and participating in the online discourse around his 2021 case and his current image rehabilitation.
However, Drake did appear to have at least one other former Nickelodeon star in his corner when it came to mending his tarnished reputation. Zoe 101 alum Alexa Nikolas was admittedly an unlikely ally for Drake. After all, this was the founder of Eat Predators, a podcast and movement designed to be a vocal defense for victims and enemy to those facing accusations. As we previously mentioned, Alexa had even made an episode calling Drake out for his 2021 allegations. However, since the release of Quiet on Set, that video has been deleted. Alexa had also reposted Nora's video on TikTok and commented on one of Glass Closet's videos, telling her to delete her post. Naturally, this led to backlash from a portion of Alexa's audience, and on April 16th, she responded to the hate in a YouTube video. In the upload, Alexa explained why she deleted her video on Drake, which she claimed came down to the New York Times piece she had cited.
I deleted it because I was reading from an article that had false information in it. It said he was a registered SO.
She said she'd planned to make a more factual video. However, given the harassment she was facing online, her feelings had changed.
And now I don't really feel up to it, okay? As a survivor, I don't feel up to it. As a survivor, we don't owe anyone anything. It feels good to say that.
Alexa added that she commented on Glass Closet's TikTok to delete her video because of the false information regarding the photos that had emojis covering the man's face.
This doesn't help survivors. And it was actually, I thought, very problematic because now some girl has to go on TikTok being like, I wasn't broomed.
Alexa also used the video to comment on Kat Tambarge's recent article on Drake's accusers facing recent backlash. While Alexa agreed that no one should be harassed, she pointed out that the article mentioned a user she blocked for posting defamatory statements and enabling her stalker, leading Alexa to wonder, where was her protection?
If we are pro not harassing survivors, that means don't harass survivors. Simple.
Is it possible Drake doesn't need to be called out? From his recent interviews, it seems like he could be heading towards accountability all on his own. Drake could admit his behavior was that of no angel after his experience with Brian Peck.
I was going down a really bad path with alcohol, the way that I was treating others, taking everything out on other people, not being accountable for my actions, blaming others.
He could admit that he bore partial blame for what happened in the past.
An experience that a lot of men can relate to, where you were victim and you were a perpetrator.
You can't minimize who you've hurt and the actions you've taken. I have to take accountability for the choices that I've made and make amends as well.
Hey, Drake could even call out his fans after they leaked the identity of his 2021 accuser and began harassing her online. However, for many, the star's statements rang hollow, given the history of sicking his Discord followers on his critics.
I would just want to say to absolutely 100% stop. Do not go on the attack. That is not the best way. If you're feeling that that's a way to defend me or to be in my corner, that is not the correct way to go about that. If you want to be in my corner and you want to feel that you're supporting me and you're angry over this situation, then show it through love and compassion. No, maybe going and supporting other survivors instead of attacking people.
As interviews went on to prove, while Drake could take some accountability for his past, he wasn't going to deviate from his narrative that the media was to blame for his scorn image.
Every mistake and misstep that I made was amplified to such a degree, misinformation, misreporting, blatant lies,
that he hadn't known his accuser's age.
Had you known from the jump that this person was underage, would you have still been tempted to text?
No.
And that despite his guilty plea, the investigation had found him to be mostly innocent.
Thankfully, through 18 months of subpoenaing my social media and phones and computers and witnesses and everything, it turned out that most of what was being accused of me wasn't true.
Yes, Drake was clearly not open to validating any allegations of abuse.
For the past 2 years, I've been called something that I'm not, and something that was perpetrated upon me.
And though he talked a big game about moving on,
yeah, I just hope that there's healing and way to move forward and get through this in a healthy way.
From his interactions in TikTok comment sections to recent DMs to a Twitter account, it seems Drake was just as stuck in his past as ever. As for online discourse, well, while some users have continued to spread the narrative that Drake's reputation was justly tainted by false accusations that, as Drake's attorney said in 2021, witnesses could disprove, others haven't been on board with the former actor's post-Quiet on Set redemption tour. Instead, these users have asked Drake to stop shifting blame to the media and to take accountability for his both alleged and proven actions. And one of the star's most vocal critics has even suggested how Drake could do just that.
I just wanted to introduce to you 13 steps that have been outlined in Lundy Bancroft's book, Why Does He Do That? Lundy Bancroft is a man who has been working with abusive men for decades. He works with them in counselor programs to help them reform their abusive behavior. So step 1 is admit fully to his history of psychological and physical abusiveness towards any current or past partners whom he has abused. Denial and minimizing need to stop, including discrediting his victim's memory of what happened. He can't change if he is continuing to cover up, to others or to himself, important parts of what he has done.
However, according to Glass Closet, a cover-up is exactly what Drake is currently manufacturing through interviews where he relies on the general public's gaps in knowledge when it comes to the American justice system.
And a lot of the things that were said in the statement later, at my sentencing, were new things that were never brought up in originally, and I don't know why.
And victim impact statements can't just be given on the fly. They have to be reviewed and approved before they are given in court. Nothing that she said in that was brought up out of the blue.
And online, where Drake continues to preach to his devoted fan base.
You also, on your own Discord server as of last month, are claiming that she had a fake Instagram account. But not only was that never brought up in court by your own defense attorney, who you think would bring that up as a pretty solid defense if that were the case, you yourself say in February of 2023, in this DM, she was a month from being 16 and looked 19 to 20. So apparently she didn't have a fake Instagram account. You just thought that she looked older than she was. And why you thought that she was older than she was, I don't know, because even your defense attorney says that you two had known each other for years.
But amid all of the backlash, allegations, and anonymous accusers, when it comes to what Drake Bell did or didn't do, what do we know for sure? Well, despite what the New York Times initially reported, we know that Drake is not a registered offender. We know that at least some of the photos currently circulating online that claim to be of Drake and his alleged girlfriend are in fact not of Drake. And we know that Drake himself was a victim of severe abuse at the hands of a man he trusted as a teen. However, we also know that Drake has been interested and in close contact with 2 young girls. The first person, the Jane Doe from the 2021 case. We know Drake had inappropriate conversations with the 15-year-old Jane Doe, who he knew since she was 12 years old. We know that Drake pleaded guilty to child endangerment and disseminating matter harmful to juveniles towards the same Jane Doe. The second person, Melissa Lingafelt. We know Drake denied her allegations, but did not deny or comment on his ex Melissa Lingafelt's age while dating her, who at the time was 16 to 19 years old, while Drake was in his early 20s.
As far as I've seen, though, he did not deny the age gap between them or the years that they dated each other.
For now, that's all we know about Drake Bell's both heart-wrenching and conflicting past.
Most people who are victimized do not go on to victimize others. However, people who victimize others are more likely than not to have been victimized themselves.
Everything else, from either side, although suspicious, remains allegations without further evidence. However, as always with stories like this, it's important to make your own judgments and perform your own digging, a stance Drake Bell has previously been entirely on board with.
Don't believe the media right off the bat. Do your own research and come to your own conclusions.
After all, as Quiet on Set proves, one side of a story might paint a picture, but that doesn't mean it's a full one. For now, questions regarding Drake Bell continue to swirl online. Are people looking for problems where they don't exist?
I'm sorry that your detective game didn't really get through and that your 5 minutes of fame came to an end, but this is a real story.
Or is it possible the public's current empathy for Drake has made it easier to look past red flags?
You can't change if you continue to cover up to others or to yourself. important parts of what you have done.
That would complicate Quiet on Set's tragic hero and force viewers to reckon with a gray reality. So long as these questions remained unanswered, the internet stands divided. And with that, this has been the story of Drake Bell, the former Nickelodeon star and survivor, who some believe is currently repeating old cycles. If you'd like to hear more about the docuseries we mentioned earlier, Quiet on Set, check out our video about it, where we go into the aftermath, where many more former stars speak up. And if you have someone you'd like us to uncover next, consider leaving a comment and subscribing to stay updated. Thank you for your support today, and we'll see you in the next video.